Okay, before you watch this video, this is for the Taranis QX7 mod that you need to do, the hardware mod, in order to have your telemetry work correctly when you're using the TBS Crossfire. All of the information that I got is from the Team Blacksheep website. As you can see here, this diagram they got from another website, the person I think who designed it. If you go to their website, it's in another some of it's in another language. Anyway, quick overview. Regardless of what I say in the video, you want as small as a wire as possible that's flexible. Just going to make moving it around that much easier. Quick step-by-step, you will first remove this transistor right here, this Q400. And then it'll show like this, and then you just need to wire all these wires as this diagram shows. In the video I will do all of them. You can see me do it. Another thing to note that I did not do is you should double-sided sticky tape this inverter to this. That way it doesn't move around at all once you put your transmitter back together.
Okay, this is for the Taranis QX7 Crossfire mod. You can buy one of these modules. So we'll go ahead and first take this off and then take apart the Taranis. Once you have those 4 screws out, the back should pop off. You can disconnect the battery plug right here. You will then want to remove this board right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. You also can unplug all the cords, all of these. I don't think you have to, so I'm going to try to not first. Okay, now that you have all of those screws off, should be able to. I'm currently pushing from the front right now. The circle this tiny motor, I think you have to remove it. Okay, so this knob is kind of a pain to get off, but if you pull the board enough, it will pop off. So once you have this board free, again, you can remove all of these wires if you want to for a little more accessibility. What you need to do is take this off. Alright, a little tip. You get some tape. You can tape this thing so you don't have to hold it while you're soldering. Alright, so we need to remove this Q400, and I think I'm going to try to just cut it off. So whatever means you use, just get that thing off. Okay, now that that part is off, let's move on to the next portion. Okay, so with your Crossfire, you should have received this little guy right here. This is what you'll be using to fix your telemetry issue. So you'll need 4 wires for this part. What you have here is you have ground, 3.3 volts in and out. So this needs to go into the out, and then it needs to go right here where we disconnected our thing earlier, and there's a link below to a screenshot of what this is supposed to look like. So this needs to be soldered onto that. So measure out your cable and then cut and tin. I'm going to have my inverter sit over here, so I probably need to go this way or so. Alright, now this is the out on this little board. So something I like to do, since I'm not super good at soldering, is after it's soldered, pull on it a bit, make sure that it is a good connection, because I'd rather have it pull it off right here than after I put it all back together. So that would suck. Alright, the next part's going to be harder. So I need to solder this to right here, and again, refer to the diagram for this because it'll make it a lot easier to see and understand what's going on. So this should be the, depending on where you removed that piece, it is the one by itself. So there's two solder joints and then one solder joint. You're soldering it to the solo solder joint. Yeah, it looks good. I don't see it touching anything. What I will probably do at the end of this is use a voltmeter to make sure I didn't cross any paths that shouldn't have been crossed. So now that that side is done, I should be able to take this off. Should be able to bring it around, put this whole part back, start working on this side. So the plan is to have it sit right around here. Alright, so the next one I'm going to do is the in on this tiny little board. Okay, now the in goes to this third thing right here. So we're going to put the 3.3 volt, and if you look on the board on the QX7, there's a little 3.3 volt symbol right here, so, or not symbol, but letters.
Okay, in order to save some time, I figured I'd just show you instead of you watching me do it because it took me a while. So what did I end up doing for the 3.3 volt and the ground connections is I soldered them directly to, can't see, but there's a little thing right here, same with the ground. I ended up soldering both of these wires to that because I could not solder it onto the side. I know that this says solder it to the side. I couldn't, so I didn't. However, from my testing, these are both connected already, so it doesn't really matter. So all I did was I soldered from ground to this ground pin right here, and then 3.3 volts to this pin right here. It says 3.3 volts right there. What I also ended up doing was I used a multimeter to test the connectivity to make sure that my ground and my 3.3 volts were connected. I also checked to make sure that any of these components were touching each other. that way when I turned back on my Taranis, I wasn't afraid to fry anything.
Alright, let's look at all the wires. So we have ground that goes right here to this ground pin. We have 3.3 volts, which goes to the other side right there. We have in goes to this third pin right here. We have out, which on the other side goes to the pin where we took it off earlier. Hope this is in focus. Now that that is all wired up, I am going to check and make sure there's no cross connectivity. Make sure that I didn't do a crappy job soldering, which I often do. So, and that should be it for the Taranis QX7 Crossfire modification.